obsessed with finding a glorious end to atone for their misdeeds. Slayers are some of the most deadly and unstable combatants on a battlefield. Dwarfs are a fiercely proud lot, but if that pride is tarnished and shame is brought upon their name, clan, or family, something in them snaps, and they've only one choice by dwarven logic: scrub their name from all records, grab their axes, and go out in a fiery blaze of glory. They oppose traditional dwarven order in all its forms. They reject armor, shields, shoes, manners, and grooming. They shed their clothes and daub themselves in ornate and occasionally magical tattoos dedicated to the war god Grimnir. They shave the sides of their heads, dye their remaining hair orange or red with plants, pigments, or blood, and use animal and monster fats to mold it into a fierce battle crest. Those who spent years doom-seeking unsuccessfully tend to have the longest, most imposing mohawks. It's usually a sore spot for them, as in their eyes their long hair is indicative of their failure to die. So complimenting them on their impressive hairstyling is a quick way to get punched, or worse. Where a dwarf is as resolute as stone, slayers are a landslide. Ironbreakers and clan dwarves favor a shield wall and protection in numbers, but slayers have no time for such things. They wade into the melee the first chance they get, becoming solitary whirlpools of violence. A bit of distance is quite sensible due to their tendency for berserk furies and swinging their axes around on iron chains. Their fearlessness and dedication to their oath is respected by dwarfish society, but there is a sense of sadness there too. If they see a grizzled demon slayer, they don't see a successful warrior, but a tormented soul denied reprieve for decades, though that sympathy is often kept to themselves. And when slayers accompany a throng, a dwarfen army, the saner folks tend to keep far away from them, which is wise, given their instability. Originally wanderers under self-imposed exile, they were given some organization by the first Slayer King, Baragor. He suffered a shame so great that it's been passed down the generations. 3,000 years later, and his descendant Ungrim Ironfist still seeks redemption for the inherited disgrace. He is driven by his personal goal to free his family by dying spectacularly, but he can't really do that without abandoning his throne and failing his people. Thus, the Slayer King lives a life of contradiction, and why you'll forgive the Ironfists for their constant moodiness and violent outbursts. You might think an entire city of deranged dwarfs itching for violence is a recipe for disaster, and you would be correct. That's a terrible idea. Fortunately, the Slayer Keep of Karak Kadrin is mostly a normal dwarven hold, albeit one forged in fire and battle. Since Baragor erected the shrine to the Slayer's patron god Grimnir, Doomseekers have flocked here to take their oaths and carve their names into the shrine's great stone pillars. There is a paradox in Slayers. The most successful leave Karak Kadrin, find a troll, and receive an almighty bonk to the cranium that kills them instantly. Every Slayer envies the Greenhorn who goes out like this, as they promptly find redemption and regain their seat in the halls of Grimnir. But the more skilled warriors, well, they kill the trolls. They become troll slayers. They need a worthier doom. They become giant slayers, then dragon slayers, and when not even drake fire can scorch away their shame, they turn to the chaos wastes. At this point, the demon slayers would take truly impossible odds, whether because they believe they've been cursed to survive in some divine fate to enact Grimnir's revenge on the ruinous powers, or more likely, they simply go mad. But madness is a given for them, and while they're quick to boast, compare their mighty bounties, and show off their battle scars, beneath all the bravado and confidence is desperation. The survivors have been chasing peace through atonement for decades, never to find it, and it's not uncommon for slayers to fall into deep pits of depression, substance abuse, and binge drinking. And that's binge drinking for a dwarf, so enough beer to get a human city drunk, essentially. Despite the general sense of recklessness, there are rules for slayers. You might wonder, if they want to die so desperately, why don't they just let it happen? Let a giant step on them, or jump in front of a cannon. That is definitely not allowed. A Slayer cannot hold back, nor throw their life away without meaning. Their death must have purpose. Then there's their shame. Ignorant young dwarfs and foolish humans have succumbed to curiosity and asked a Slayer what their shame is. This is not an advisable thing to do unless you want a big meaty fist to the face, or worse. A Slayer must die in the heat of battle. No gangrenous wounds, no infections, no diseases. Definitely no natural causes. Furthermore, if you see a Slayer in a sticky spot, you must not help them. Saving a Slayer's life is a quick way to find yourself in a decades-long grudge. And finally, no matter how many blows to the head they take, a Slayer must never let the memory of their shame become hazy. It must always burn deep within their minds until their fateful redemption. There have been attempts to enforce a more rigid structure to doom-seeking. Ungrim Ironfist, the heir to Karak Kadrin, dredged up the ancient title of War Mourner, a sort of administrator and distributor of dooms. It's a sensible idea, but Slayers aren't really one for listening to authority figures. And the decision, as well as Ungrim, weren't particularly popular. Slayers have been a force of nature on countless battlefields. They are instruments of destruction, seen in awe and terror. The dwarves' closest allies, the humans, respect the Slayer cult. In a way you might respect something that utterly terrifies you and could kill you at a moment's notice. The Skaven despise them, considering their lack of fear cheating. They have no issues employing treachery to get rid of them, be that poison, warp fire, or assassination. Greenskins, on the other hand, celebrate the Slayers, as no one puts up a scrap like a Doomseeker. The forces of chaos see them as worthy sacrifices, and Khorne especially celebrates them, given their penchant for mass murder. The Elves, on the other hand, do not share that sense of respect. They see the Slayers as the truest representations of the dwarfs, stubborn, uncouth, and lacking any sense of grace, sophistication, or subtlety. But then again, who ever cared what an elf thinks? Slayers are instruments of destruction, and while it's easy enough to think of them as cold and cutting as the steel they wield, roiling beneath is a sea of conflict, shame, and a deep and unstable sadness. Each and every one of them is a powder keg waiting to explode, and when you have a lot of them in the same place, you better believe something big is about to unfold. I hope you've enjoyed this dive into the who, what, and why of Slayers. If you want a bit more Slayer goodness in your lives, I've got an Ungrim Ironfist narrative campaign that should be floating around the screen right about now. Thank you for joining me here today. I've been Willis, you've been excellent, and I hope to see you back again another time.